Do you ever finish a 2-hour study session and still feel like nothing actually stayed in your head? Like you were busy, you were disciplined, you did everything that looks like good studying on the outside, but the results don't match the effort on the inside. You took notes, you highlighted, you reread, you sat there for hours, and then when it's time to recall it, explain it, write it, or use it in an exam, your mind goes blank. If that sounds familiar, I want you to hear this clearly. This is not a character flaw, and it's not laziness. Most of the time, it's a method problem. So let's turn this into a case study together, as a community. Comment this one question. What did you do in your last 2-hour study session? Because if the honest answer is, I read and highlighted, that one line explains why the learning didn't stick. I know that feeling of frustration because I've been there. My journey didn't start in a creative studio. It began in the rigorous, high-pressure world of physical therapy. In that field, precision is everything, and scientific research is the backbone of every move you make. So, I decided to become a professional self-learner. I took that disciplined, scientific mindset from the clinic and applied it to mastering content creation and video editing from scratch. More importantly, I've spent thousands of hours stress testing AI tools, not just to generate text, but to revolutionize how we handle academic writing and deep scientific research. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 7 or 8 study habits that don't just feel productive. They create real retrieval and real understanding, the kind you can pull out under pressure. And because we live in a world where AI is everywhere, I'll also show you how I use Inara as a support tool in a way that stays grounded. So we're not just collecting pretty summaries, we're building knowledge you can actually use. Let's start with the first habit, planning your study session so you're producing outcomes, not just spending time. Habit 1. Start with a plan that produces an output, not just time. The principle is simple. You do not study, you produce an outcome. If you sit down with no plan, your brain has to keep making tiny choices every minute, and those tiny choices quietly drain you. You end up doing what feels easiest, not what actually builds memory. That is why planning matters. It protects your focus the way a map protects you from walking in circles. And let's be honest, most people don't fail because they lack effort. They fail because they sit down and hope motivation will guide them, and motivation is not a schedule. So here is the why. A plan reduces decision fatigue and makes your session predictable, and predictable is powerful. The practical example is to walk into a session with one clear deliverable. Not study biology, but produce one page where I can explain the topic without looking, or produce 10 questions I can answer from memory, or produce a mini outline that I could turn into a paragraph. If you want to bring AI into this step, use Inara like a planning assistant, not like a shortcut. You can paste your syllabus topic or your lecture objectives and ask, create a 45-minute study plan with one measurable output at the end. Include a 5-minute self-test. Then you do the work. The proof moment is not what the AI writes. The proof moment is what you can do at the end. Can you close your notes and still explain the core idea out loud? If you skip this habit, the consequence is brutal but common. You spend 2 hours being a good student, and you walk away with nothing you can actually retrieve. Mini recap. Plan the output, then earn the output. Habit 2. Choose active learning over passive learning every time. The principle here is a hard truth. Reading is not the same as learning, and highlighting is not the same as understanding. Passive learning feels safe because it looks like progress, but it rarely forces your brain to retrieve, connect, or apply. Active learning does. Why does that matter? Because memory is not a camera. Memory is more like a muscle. If you never ask it to lift, it never gets stronger. So the why is retrieval. Can you pull the idea out without seeing it? Can you say it in simple words? Can you connect it to something else you already know? A practical example is to turn every page of notes into questions. Instead of writing, the mitochondria does X, you write, what does the mitochondria do and why does it matter? Then you cover the answer and test yourself. If you want to bring Inara into this, make it your question generator, not your highlight pen. You can prompt, turn this section into 8 active recall questions. Make half of them why questions and half of them how questions. Then give short model answers. Now here's the proof moment that keeps you honest. After you read the model answers once, you close the screen and answer the questions yourself, out loud, like you are talking to a friend. Then you check what you missed. If you only read and highlight, the consequence is predictable. You will feel busy, you will feel serious, and you will still freeze when you need to perform under pressure because your brain never practiced pulling the knowledge out. Mini recap, passive feels productive, active proves productive. Habit 3, teach what you learn, even if your student is an AI or your phone camera. The principle is, if you can teach it, you understand it. Teaching forces you to simplify, organize, and expose gaps. That is the why. Your brain cannot hide behind vague feelings when you have to explain something clearly. You need a structure. You need examples. You need to answer the question, so what? The practical example is to record a 60-second voice note where you teach the concept as if you are helping a friend the night before an exam. Keep it simple, no fancy words. If you can't explain it simply, it is not because you are stupid. It is because you found a gap, and that is good news, because a gap is something you can fix. If you want to use Anara here, you can use it like a practice partner. You can say, pretend you are a student who doesn't get this. Ask me 5 questions that would expose weak understanding. Then you answer those questions out loud. The proof moment is when you realize you are dodging or guessing. That is the moment you go back to the source and repair the gap. If you skip this habit, the consequence is that your knowledge stays fragile. It looks fine on paper, but it collapses when someone asks one follow-up question or when you try to write a paragraph and nothing connects. Mini recap. Teach it once, find the holes, patch the holes. Right in the middle, a quick note. If you want to try Anara while you follow along with these habits, I'll leave the product link in the description. Use it as a tool to practice the method faster, not as a tool to avoid the method. And if you do try it, come back and tell the community what worked and what didn't, because that feedback becomes the next case study we all learn from. Habit 4. Manage distractions like your grades depend on it, because they do. The principle is not be stronger. The principle is remove the triggers. Most distraction is not a personality problem. It is an environment problem. Why does that matter? Because attention is the entry point of memory. If your attention is chopped into little pieces, your learning becomes chopped into little pieces. You can't build a bridge with broken bricks. The practical example is simple and a little uncomfortable. Phone out of reach, notifications off, one task on the table, and a timer. You decide, for the next 25 minutes, I do one thing. Not 5 things, one thing. If you want to bring AI into this habit, the best use is not more tabs, it is fewer. Use one tool, one prompt list, one workflow, so you don't bounce between apps like a pinball. Ask yourself a ruthless question. Am I using AI to focus, or am I using AI as a new kind of scrolling? The proof moment is your behavior. Did you finish the planned output, or did you collect more information you won't use? If you ignore this habit, the consequence is sneaky. You will sit at your desk for hours and still feel behind, because your brain never got uninterrupted time long enough to form deep understanding. Mini recap. Remove the trigger, protect the block, finish the output. Habit 5. Use spaced repetition so your brain stops treating knowledge like a one-time visitor. The principle is spacing. You do not learn once and keep it forever. You learn, you almost forget, you return, and you strengthen. That is the why. What gets revisited gets reinforced. If you only touch a topic once and then abandon it until the week of the exam, your brain treats it like a tourist. It lets it fade. But when you return on purpose, you tell your brain, this matters. Keep this. A practical example is to schedule small returns, not giant restudy sessions, small returns. 10 minutes today, 10 minutes next week, 10 minutes in a month. If you are a PhD student or you're doing research-heavy work, this matters even more, because you are not just memorizing facts, you are building a web of ideas across sources. If you want to use Anara here, you can ask it to turn your notes into a review plan. You can prompt, based on these notes, create a spaced review schedule for the next 4 weeks. Each review should include 5 recall questions and 1 connect this to another topic question. Now, the proof moment is not the schedule itself. The proof moment is when you do the review and you can answer the questions without rereading first. That is the whole point. If you skip spaced repetition, the consequence is painful. You feel like you are constantly relearning the same thing, and you wonder why you are bad at studying, when really your method is forcing you to start from zero again and again. Mini recap. Touch it, leave it, return to it, and you keep it. Habit 6. Build a growth mindset that is practical, not cheesy. The principle is not be positive. The principle is your inner language shapes your next action. When your self-talk is harsh, your actions get smaller. You avoid practice. You avoid hard questions. You avoid discomfort. Why does that matter? Because learning is discomfort. If you never feel a little challenged, you are probably not stretching. So replace dead-end sentences with usable sentences. Instead of, I'm dumb, try, I don't get this yet. So what is the next small step? Instead of, I can't remember anything, try, what part can I recall right now and what part is missing? If you want to use Anara here in a healthy way, use it to turn confusion into a plan, not into reassurance. You can ask, I'm stuck on this topic. Give me 3 small steps to rebuild understanding. And for each step, give me 1 quick question I can answer to prove I'm improving. The proof moment is when you do the step and your answer gets clearer. If you do not build this habit, the consequence is that you start protecting your ego instead of building your skill. You will choose easy tasks so you can feel good, and your results will stay the same. Mini recap, not I can't, but what's the next step? Habit 7, take breaks that actually recharge your brain, not breaks that drain it. The principle is recovery. Your brain needs cycles, focus, rest, focus, rest. Why? Because attention is not infinite, and fatigue makes everything feel harder than it is. When you are tired, you read the same line 5 times, and it still doesn't land. A real break resets that. A fake break often doesn't. The practical example is to plan breaks like they are part of studying. After 25 to 50 minutes, stand up, move your body, drink water, look far away, change your posture. If you can, walk for 5 minutes. And here is the honest part. Scrolling often does not feel like rest after the first minute. It turns into more input, more noise, more comparison, more stress. Your brain does not need more noise. It needs oxygen and quiet. If you want to use AI here, keep it minimal and supportive. You can use a timer, or you can ask Anara to build a study rhythm that includes breaks, because inside Anara also get integration with Gemini 2.5, OpenAI ChatGPT. But the proof moment is not the timer. The proof moment is how you feel when you return. Do you come back sharper, or do you come back foggier? If you ignore breaks, the consequence is burnout. And burnout is not a badge of honor. It is just a slow way to lose your confidence. Mini recap. Breaks are not wasted time. They are the reset that makes time work. Habit 8. Reflect and self-assess so your method evolves instead of repeating the same mistake. The principle is feedback. If you don't measure what is working, you will keep doing what is familiar, even if it is failing you. That is the why. Reflection turns effort into improvement. Without it, you can study hard for months and never upgrade your approach. The practical example is a 2-minute debrief after every session. Ask yourself, what did I produce today? What can I explain without notes? What confused me? What is the next step? If you are doing AI-assisted research for a paper or thesis, this is where Template B becomes powerful, because it keeps you honest. You can use Anara to help you write the debrief, but you must control the truth. You can prompt, based on my notes from today, write a session debrief with 3 parts: what I can explain, what I can't explain yet, and what sources I need to check. Then give me the next 30-minute plan. The proof moment is when you check your claims against the original source. If the AI gives you a clean summary, ask yourself, can I point to the exact sentence in my notes or the paper that supports this? If not, you label it as uncertain and you fix it. If you skip reflection, the consequence is that you keep repeating the same loop. Highlight, read, feel busy, forget, panic, repeat. Mini recap, reflect for 2 minutes, and you save hours of fake studying. I hope that you found this video useful. I know that education is never easy, especially if you're someone who struggles with learning and finding ways that feels right to you when everyone around you is doing so great. I hope some of the things I spoke about today helps you with finding new habits for the next academic year. If you enjoy this, leave me a comment down below, and I'll see you in my next video.